Hi everyone, this is Pierrick from P2DESIGN. In this new short tutorial I will show you some tips to output the Z value, the depth value, into pixels so that you can save it as PNG or JPEG, whatever you want, and be able to use it in Photoshop, After Effects, GIMP or whatever software you're using for post-production. Let's get started. Here is a simple scene to illustrate our work here. So it's just some cube I have deformed and add an array modifier. Put my camera here. We have a simple sun lamp here and a plane to simulate the ground. So if I switch to rendered viewport, Shift Z, here is what I have. So, what is depth of field? It's a value that will allow you to get the depth of your scene from the foreground to the background. Okay, so if I render this scene, it automatically opens the UV image editor. And I have my final render here. Okay, so I can see my scene here rendered, and if I click here I can see the Z buffer and it shows me the depth of my scene. On the foreground I have a nearly pure white value, while in the background it slowly fades to black. Okay, but if I try to save this map, this image here, pressing F3 or go to image, save as image, I got this. Okay, and currently there is no way to save this buffer channel. Even if I go there, I will have another try. It is pure white, and this is because here this is only a representation of the Z value, while it's not a pixel value of this Z map. So it can sound a bit complicated for the time being, but I will show you how to output this value, and it's pretty simple. We will go into the node editor. Okay, here in the layer we will set use node. Now I have my scene here. We will add a viewer that will allow you to display the current picture on the background. Plug it here and enable backdrop. Now I have this layer output here. You can zoom in here, here. Okay, and now if I plug my Z channel in here, it will be pure white, because this is not a pixel value. Pixel value are shown with a yellow output, and if I put another value here like those, the gray one are values, I won't see anything for the Z pass. Okay, it's because we have to convert this information into pixels, and there are different ways. Okay, first we will have to understand how the Z depth is currently calculated or understood by Blender. Okay, so one first thing to do to make it obvious, select your camera here, go into the camera menu, and here you have the clipping. Okay, it is where the camera starts calculating the pixels and where it stops. to make it more obvious, you can display the limits of your camera here. So we can see that the camera is starting calculating any object in its path from here to this point. Currently I don't need this limit to go that further, so I can reduce it. Okay, like this. And here I can put this first value to this point. Okay, that's enough. So here my camera is covering my main scene from the beginning to the end. Okay, so if I go into render mode, I see everything. If the end is too reduced, I will see the clipping slowly getting less further, and now my entire scene is not displayed in camera viewport. That's why it's important to be sure that your camera depth is covering the whole scene. Okay, so let's render this again. Okay, and let's get back to the node editor. So I have my picture here and my Z value, and we will add, to make this value becoming pixels, a converter which will be vector, and we will use the map range. So I take the Z value and put it into value and plug it here, and we won't see anything. Okay, because here I take a value and output value in a color, so we need this to become a color. So we will add color mix, and we will mix this value from pure white to pure black. Okay, and it turns to pure black. And why? Because here I have my current Z values that are like of clamped or threshold to 0 to 1, but my camera is using start 2.2 to 58. So let's copy those values here and here, and now I have a pixel representation of my depth, and this is what we are aiming for. And those are the conversion of the value that is outputted here to the factor, which is usually 0 to 1. Okay, so keeping this to 0 to 1 is very obvious, but if you increase this, it will slightly turn to gray, so you can tweak the stuff. Okay, or even change this to a color ramp and change the way it behaves. For example, I can say this is going to be red and this yellow. Okay, from this result you can also imagine some stuff you could do with this, like adding some mixing color here with our paste image, and multiply it, for example, and change the color, the ambience, whatever you want of your scene. Okay, so let's get back to simple value, black and white. So here we have seen that we could output the depth of field using the clipping values of the camera, but as I'm a bit lazy, I prefer to use the normalize node. What it does, it takes the current geometry instead of the camera default field. So here we can't see really the difference. But instead of using the camera default field, it uses the current geometry of your scene, take the closer object and the most far object, to set the value from 0 to 1. Okay, and it allows you to have kind of the same properties or value outputted here, but you don't need to tweak the depth of your camera, etc. You don't need to tweak all those values and properties. So you will have a direct result more easily. Okay, let's set something else in this scene. I want to show you how to output multiple passes and save those files as PNG or whatever format you need of file. Okay, so we will make this shader a little more complex. For the time being, I don't have any shaders on my object, so by default they have a diffuse shader. If I add a shader here, you see it's a diffuse BSDF with this color value, and those one have exactly the same. So let's assign the same shader to those elements. So I just select them, select my source material object here, press Ctrl L and select material. Now they have all the same material. For Susan, let's create a new one. Okay, let's get in the node editor, and let's tweak the material properties. Okay, we will just have a slight glossy effect. So I switch to render viewport, add the shader, and we will add a layer weight to simulate Fresnel, the color ramp here facing, so I can see my effect now by Ctrl Shift clicking this, assuming I have enabled the node wrangler, which is in the user preferences, add-ons node here. Super nice add-on to help you creating your nodes. Okay, so I will push this to B-spline, change the value like this. Okay, and use this as a factor. Ctrl Shift click. Now I have my glossy setup. I will just add to this scene a plane here, rotate it, scale it like this, and we will set an emission shader with a slightly blue value. It's just to have a different lighting here to showcase the glossy shader. Okay, so we can see we have slight bluish reflection here. Maybe I will increase the glossy effect so that it's more obvious. Okay, like this. Okay, so now what I want to do is render this scene. Okay, here, and I wish to have the different passes, so I go into the layers and enable the passes I want. I like diffuse direct, or the glossy, and the AO and the shadow. But what I also want is get rid of the sky here. I don't want it to have an alpha, I want it to be transparent. So I go here to the rendering setup, go in film, and check transparent. Now it is transparent. Okay, so the alpha value of the combined pass will be 0 wherever there is no mesh intersecting my camera. Okay, so now what if I want to save those layers? Let's just render this image into the node editor. Okay, so here now I have my different passes. Control Shift clicking to see them in the viewer, shadow, AO, etc. Okay, so what if I want to save all those images when rendering is done? That's pretty easy. You can do it by hand, but there is an awesome add-on to do this. Okay, I just get rid of all the nodes here, and in the add-on, and you will find the link to download it in the comment of this video. If I go to save, I have these render save layers and passes in respectively named folder available here. And in the MISC here in the tool panel, I have this enabled. As soon as this is enabled, it will automatically create me a file output. I can get rid of this. A file output with a path. Here it's my root hard drive and the folder temp. And if I click this, I can see it has created relative paths for all my images. So it will create a new folder in my temp folder called scene. Pillars, which is the name of my layer, okay, and it will create another folder for each passes. So if you are rendering an animation, that's very useful, okay, because you will have a folder per passes, and this is the name of the output. So it will be pillars underscore glossy underscore color plus the number of the current frame, so 45 here. Okay, so I don't need all of this folder for the example. Okay, so you can easily edit this. Just type in the path you want. Okay, but the problem here is that I got rid of my Z output. If I save this like it is right now, I will have a blank image. So I need to add my vector normalize here, put it here, add my color mix, set the second value to pure black, input the value into the factor, okay, and in my Z passes here I will put this here. Now if I render this again, okay, as soon as it is finished, I have all my passes saved here. Okay, super cool. So I usually do post-production in Photoshop or After Effects. It's just a personal choice, as I have a huge Adobe background. So now I will show you how to use those passes with a very simple post-production process. Okay, we won't go into something super aesthetic or super realistic, but I just want to show you what is the use of depth of field. So welcome in Photoshop now. You can use GIMP or After Effects, whatever you need. But I want to show you a super trick in Photoshop. Okay, here it's a French version, but the path is kind of the same, and it's a little script that is available in the root of Photoshop that will save you a lot of time. You go in File, Import Script, sorry, and here, I don't know how it is in English, but you will find it easily. Just click here, load file in the same document, I believe. You go to Browse, go in your temp folder, select all the pics you want to load, OK, and press OK, and let Photoshop work. And what it will do, it will create one layer per picture you have selected. And the good thing about this is, well, you are saving a lot of time instead of copying and pasting stuff or importing your file by hand, but also it will keep the name of your file in the layers. Okay, so this is super cool because you won't have to name those by hand. And if you have given them a proper name in Blender, that will save you a lot of time. Okay, so what will we do with our Z here value? I will show you. Okay, first of all, let's see our combine. Okay, so I have alpha here, so what I can do is control click in the calc in the layer here. Okay, select everything but the Z value and create a folder. Then from this folder, select everything and press Ctrl G to put them into a folder, and then press here to create a mask based on this selection. Okay, now all those layers have this mask. Okay, so they have transparency here. So now I can create some sky or something like this. Let's do it bluish like this. Let's add a light value like this, and let's blend it using another mask here, and with the gradient trying to get something that look like a sky. Okay, let's say it's okay right now. So now I have all my passes here. I have the shadow, the glossy indirect, glossy direct, glossy color, etc, etc. So what I usually do is taking the ambient occlusion, set it to overlay, okay, with a small value like 15%. I like it. It increases the contrast and keep the shadowing values pretty even. Okay, and also I oftenly combine the glossy direct here using the shadow. So what I do is I select my shadow layers, Control A to select everything, Control C to copy the pixels, hide it, go into the Pillar Glossy Direct, create a mask, Alt clicking on it to edit it, Control Shift V to copy my shadow exactly in the same place as it is. By default, if you press Control V, the layer will be passed in the middle of the viewport. If you get on the left or the right, it will be not centered into the picture, or not centered from compared to the source. So Control Shift V. Okay, and now if I click here, I will get back to classical viewport. Okay, I can see, and I will enable those. Okay, I can see my glossy direct, okay, masked if I disable the mask here using the shadows. Okay, so in our case I will switch this to let's add it. Okay, let's get rid of it, and I have a crisper reflection here. So this is really not a course about doing a cool or good post-production, because obviously here it's not relevant, but I'm just showing you how you can combine passes together. Okay, so now let's talk about our depth of field. So I will just add some contrast to my first picture, okay, using curve, and I will now group those. Okay, what we will do now is duplicate this. You can convert it to smart object by right clicking on the name, convert to smart object, and what it does, it creates a second file, a proxy file of what you have converted, and when you double click on it, it will open you a new file here. You can edit it as you want. Okay, if I save it and close it, now it has updated this file. Okay, so very useful thing. So on this, and the other cool stuff about smart object is that you can apply filters on it, and they will be dynamically applied, so you will be able to get back on them and tweak them. I will show you. If I flatten this image, Control E, okay, pixelise, sorry, here, and apply a blur effect, okay, I can't tweak it anymore. It's done. While if I do it on the smart object, filter, okay, now I can get rid of it, or even edit it again, change its value, so it's the mask here, but change its value here dynamically. Okay, I don't lose the informations. So we will talk about the blur later. Okay, first of all, let's make some compositing very simple. One thing that is usually missing in 3D view is the atmospheric depth. Okay, you can simulate it in Blender using volumetric lighting, but it will consume a lot of CPU usage and memory usage, while you can easily do it in the compositor. Also, why I do it manually is that when you do it using the atmospherical rendering or stuff like this, is that the output is with this depth and you're stuck into it, while here I have my rough render and I can play with everything. Okay, so what we want to do is that when pillars are fading to the back of the scene, they will inherit the color of the sky and of the atmosphere. Okay, here they will get more blurry, lighter, and slightly blue color. So let's do it. Let's add a hue and saturation here, redefine it, switch it to blue, try to catch up a value that is close to our sky here. Okay, add a curve, okay, and lighten the scene, okay, and then we will add the blur effect. So now I'm happy with this, but what I want is that what is in the foreground won't inherit those effects, and what is in the back will. And this is where our Z passes is super useful. So I will just use the Z as a mask. Currently the mask works this way. It's like the value when you are mixing in Blender. What is white is 100% used, and what is black is 0% used. So I want to apply those effects, the further we get. So I just need to invert my Z passes. I will create a copy. Control I to invert the color. Okay. Control A, Control C. Now I will Alt click here, Control Shift V, Alt click here, Control Shift V. Okay. And I have okay. Now we're done. And here I have my effect. So you can see that here we don't have our atmospheric use, and here it is. Okay. So again, it is super exaggerated. Okay, it's just a matter of showing you how it works. Okay, so now if I add my Gaussian blur here, okay, and also here on the mask of the Gaussian blur add my map, I have this depth of field blur. Okay, I have my kind of how to say it, atmospheric value showing and popping out. Okay, and I can reach to a more realistical result. Okay, so that's it. If we compare from our previous picture, okay, this and the one with some basic composition, okay, okay, it looks better. So again, this is not a fact about doing great compositing. Okay, I was just showing you how it works and how the Z-Pass can be used. And just think of it, changing the atmosphere, changing the color, whatever you want, changing the sharpness of your map, changing the, I don't know, the sharpness of the shadows, everything. Okay, you have here a special value, spatial, okay, in the space, I mean, sorry for my accent. And this is one of the most important input you can have in CG when working with 3D, okay, compositing. Try to catch up as most 3D output as possible, and there are others that are pretty cool, like the vector, normals, and UV. Okay, let me render this again so that I can show you. You can change light direction using the normals. You can create mask combining the normals value with RGB separation and stuff like this. So all those 3D outputs are super important. Okay, let's go there, add a viewer here, look at the normal here, super interesting. If I want to isolate those, I just have to add a converter, RGB to black and white, for example, or converter separate RGB, go here, okay, and you can see how you can create mask instead of doing it by hand. Also, if you are doing an animation, separating all those masks manually is just impossible. Okay, so if you can have those very strong values and separate them using a simple separation currently, that's gonna be super useful. Okay, so I hope it was informative and you have learned some tricks, okay, and that it will help you to make your post-production better and faster. See you soon.